So it's late Friday night, early Saturday morning, and Donald Trump gets animated. Now, it hasn't been a good week. He did the joint Sessions address. That went well, and he was very excited about that. But then Jeff Sessions' news came out, and he had to recuse himself from the investigations into Russia. That made Trump very mad. And then apparently he read something on right-wing news sites that made him even more angry. So he tweeted in the middle of the night. Here's what he said. Terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped, that's in quotes, in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. Now, wait a minute. You found out in the middle of the night? Because he's the president, it's entirely possible that he'd get an intelligence briefing. He shouldn't go really blabbing about that on Twitter, but okay, well, that would be very interesting. It's very credible that the president would know something we don't know. But really, somebody came and briefed you in the middle of the night in Florida? Less likely. Okay, let's keep going. His next tweet is it legal for a sitting president to be wiretapping a race for president prior to an election? Turned down by court earlier, a new low. Well, now he's on to something. So everybody's saying he's crazy, and that's relatively true. But there is one kernel of truth in here. According to The Guardian, and this story came out in January, the FBI asked the FISA court for a warrant to wiretap Trump Tower. Now, think about that for a second. That means the FBI thought that the evidence they had connecting Trump or his associates that are also in Trump Tower to Russia was so significant that they would go to a court in the middle of an election in October, right before the election, and ask for a warrant to wiretap a presidential candidate or his associates. If that's true, that's not good news for Donald Trump. That's terrible news for Donald Trump. Now, that's what The Guardian reported. Now, they were turned down. If that reporting is true, the FISA court said, no, you can't do that because, again, he's a presidential candidate in the middle of a run, and that would have been, they would have had to have overwhelming evidence in order to have that wiretap be accepted by the court. So Trump continues. He says, I'd bet a good lawyer could make a great case out of the fact that President Obama was tapping my phones in October, just prior to election. But you just said in the earlier tweet that he was turned down by the court, which means that he was not wiretapping you. Besides which, you have no evidence that it's President Obama that ordered that, and nor have you looked into any of the laws before, in the middle of a tirade in the middle of the night, you sent out all these tweets. Remember, I gotta keep reminding Donald Trump of this. You're the president. You know what you could do is, you could ask your intelligence officials. They now work for you. You could ask the FBI, you could ask the CIA, you could ask anyone you like. You're the president, Donnie. You don't have to just get mad as if you're outside of power. Doesn't he sound like that? Just found out from Alex Jones that something bad is happening inside the government. Don, you're inside the government. It's like one of those movies where Jason Bourne is like, oh my God, he's calling from inside the building. Don, you're calling from inside the building. Just ask somebody if you think that they wiretapped you. You don't have to get conspiratorial. You can just find out. They have to give you what you want. You're the president. He sends one more tweet nonetheless. He says, how low has President Obama gone to tap my phones during the very sacred election process? This is Nixon / Watergate. Bad or sick guy. Okay, yeah, of course there's misspellings in there. Nobody's surprised by that. Okay, a lot of projection in talking about a sick guy. If Obama had called Bush, who went before him, a sick guy, the press would have exploded. How dare he? Angry, the right wing would have ended, black man. Okay, but the rest of the press would have been like, that's an angry thing to do. It's unacceptable. It breaks decorum. And it's not like the press isn't on Trump. But my point is that this is unprecedented. No president has ever said about a former president, sick, that guy's sick. And of course, the childish, bad guy. Because he doesn't possess a vocabulary past 3rd grade. So someone is either bad or good. They're either fine or sick. So bad or sick guy like Nixon, Watergate. To charge that in the middle of the night without doing your research is unbelievable. But now with Trump, everything's believable. So then they go and ask the people who were in charge in the government, did you actually do that? James Clapper, former National Intelligence Director, says there was no such wiretap activity mounted against the president-elect at the time as a candidate or against his campaign. Now, look, I'm the only one that is not treating this as purely insane, because again, The Guardian did report that they did ask for a wiretap, and if you notice Clapper's wording, they're saying it wasn't against his campaign and we didn't have one at the time. Well, if it was turned down by the court, it's true, they wouldn't have one. He didn't say they didn't ask for one, okay? And then Raw's story explains, former Obama administration officials pointed out on Saturday and Sunday that no president has the power to unilaterally authorize wiretaps or surveillance of any kind. Requests for surveillance require a warrant that must be approved by a federal judge. Now that's reported by everybody, that's absolutely true. So President Obama wouldn't have gone in the middle of the night as Trump does and go, okay, somebody get me a wiretap on this Trump guy, I don't like this guy, right? That's not how it works. Again though, let's be clear, that doesn't mean that someone didn't ask for a wiretap. That would come out of the FBI or another, or the Department of Justice in some other way, but it wouldn't come from the president. The fact that it wouldn't come from the president is sad that Trump doesn't know that, didn't bother to investigate, doesn't care about the facts. But also doesn't mean that they didn't ask for a warrant. So a lot of people are hiding behind that, like, well, Obama couldn't have ordered it, so it's not true. No, Obama couldn't have ordered it, but somebody else could have. So let's keep it real. Now, Kevin Lewis, current spokesperson for Obama, says neither President Obama nor any White House official ever orders surveillance on any US citizen. There's a lot I could disagree with there, but as it regards Trump, again, he's saying Obama and White House officials didn't do it. It doesn't mean that other people within the government didn't ask for that warrant. So let's be clear about what happened and didn't happen here, okay? So how did Trump get this in his head? And again, we go to Raw's story here, but this is reported by many outlets as well. They say at this juncture, it appears most likely that President Trump got the idea that Obama wiretapped Trump towers from right-wing news sites, Breitbart.com and InfoWars, Jesus, which both, along with conservative radio shouter Mark Levin, ran with a wiretap story on Thursday and Friday in spite of a lack of evidence supporting the charges. See, this is what drives me crazy. Donald, if you heard some idiot two-bit conservative talk show host on the radio earlier in the day, or you saw Breitbart, which is written, I mean, the guy who's your chief advisor theoretically stepped down from Breitbart, but obviously still gives orders to what they're gonna write about. He's playing you. Steve Bannon used to run Breitbart. Now he no longer is associated with it because he's chief advisor to the president. Just calls anyone at Breitbart and goes, hey, run this story. They run the story, then he prints it out. This is from another article we know from inside White House officials. And they put it in Trump's desk. And then Trump reads it, because he doesn't know how to work a computer other than Twitter. And he's like, oh my God, look at what Breitbart's saying. See, at that point, Donnie, you go ask people, because you're the president. You don't just go on Twitter and go, can you believe what Alex Jones said or Steve Bannon said, and then put it on my desk in order to manipulate me. God, you are such a fool. Okay. On Sunday, FBI Director James Comey urged the Justice Department to speak out against the president's calls for investigations into wiretaps he has yet to prove exist. Again, I'm a little mixed on that one. Comey, who's the head of the FBI, says, hey, don't do any investigations. He's shown no proof. Okay, but you didn't say that you didn't ask for the warrant. So let's just be clear on what is and is not true here. Trump does not have evidence of it. InfoWars is not evidence. If you think so, then aliens are about to attack us, and watch out for the lizard people controlled by Satan. Okay, that is not real evidence. On the other hand, the denials here are very carefully worded. And again, if you believe The Guardian, which is a real news source, they did ask for a warrant. So this is a very interesting story, but Trump should be a little bit careful what he asked for. If you ask for an investigation into why they wanted the warrant, then you might accidentally release the evidence that they had on you. Oops, we'll get to that in a minute. Now, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, White House Deputy Press Secretary, says that, of course, she has no idea if there's actual evidence. She says, quote, "I do know that we take this very seriously and we think it should be thoroughly reviewed and investigated, and we're asking Congress to do their job and to do just that." And then they go to the House Intelligence Committee Chair, Representative Devin Nunes from California, is a Republican, and he said on Sunday that the committee will make inquiries into whether President Barack Obama's administration eavesdropped on campaign officials before the 2016 election. Then you go to Sean Spicer, who is, of course, the White House press secretary, and in a series of tweets, he ends it by saying, neither the White House nor the president will comment further until such oversight is conducted. Well, first of all, I wouldn't bet on it. Unless you actually physically took Trump's phone away from him, he will probably comment on it again. But it is interesting that at the end, the White House is like, no further comments, no further comments. Wait, if they investigate this, then they get to find out what the warrant was based on? No further comments, we won't be talking about this at all anymore. Oh, interesting. If you think, hey, if Trump did something wrong with the Russians, would he really be stupid enough to ask for an investigation of it? And my answer to that is, of course he would. The single biggest mistake the media continues to make about Trump is not that he's unstable, they got that right. It's not that he's done all these things wrong, they've got that right. It's that they are underestimating how painfully stupid he is. So yes, it is entirely possible that he opens up an investigation which winds up doing him in. Hear me now, quote me later.
Are you sick of the mainstream media? Then I got good news for you. We're going to hire some investigative reporters and we're going to go house. We're actually going to investigate what's happening in this country and stand up for you guys. Help us do it. Go to tytnetwork.com/go. If everybody watching this video just gives a little bit of money, we'd have plenty to hire those investigative teams and unleash them on the country.